Pops, if we add ourselves to the stage, what is good, defenders? And welcome to episode 361 of the most LAFC podcast on the planet. And this is all about the 25th edition of El Trafico. The Los Angeles Derby was a disappointment for LAFC. You know my voice. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert. And we are back together for the episode. You know him from, I don't know, maybe it's the voice of the Empire Strikers. Maybe you follow UC Riverside Highlanders. Maybe you're going to watch a lot of TST when that comes up in the next couple of weeks. Or maybe you just know him as the heartthrob Christian Philemon.
Well, if you're going to call me a heartthrob, then I will say you have very good taste, my friend. Very, very good taste. Scarf, I'm thoroughly disappointed in yesterday's game. And I was so tempted to call you and say, you know what? Why don't we hop on the show immediately and actually get right into our feels? And I'll tell you, if we did do that, there's no way it would have been a family-friendly episode. Not with the way I was feeling after yesterday's disappointing draw. But what isn't disappointing is the fact that you and I get to be here doing this together. After we have this conversation tonight, after we commiserate a draw, which normally I wouldn't say, but this certainly felt like a loss to me as opposed to anything else. Once we commiserate this, I want to throw it behind me. I don't want to think about it. I was upset for a good hour afterwards. My wife was mad at me because I was upset. I woke up this morning in a mild funk, and then I realized, you know what? F it. I'm not going to let this destroy my day. I'm only going to worry about the things I can control. And the thing I can control today is the way I'm going to feel on this podcast. But either way, it's nice to be with you again, 2 in a row, my friend. And it's good to be around the millions.
Man, millions. That's for sure. Such a disappointment. But I want to talk about something at the jump. And by the way, don't forget the Mauricio Facio Futsal Court fundraising effort is still underway. They're building the court out in Cudahy. Head on over to lafc.com/mo-facio to donate. All right, look. I said on One More Sleep, Philly, that my player to watch for LAFC was Marky Delgado. And the reason why I wanted to watch Marky Delgado, I said, was tongue-in-cheek, was that I needed to make sure one last time that he wasn't a double agent.
We joked about that. Yes, I remember.
What do I see on social media before the match? What is Mark Delgado doing? Showing up to Dignity Health Sports Park on Friday, as I understand, so that Carson can give him his well-earned, by the way, MLS Cup champions ring. Before El Trafico, he's in tears. He's walking out on the pitch. Oh, by the way, he's wearing white. So many problems with what Mark Delgado decided to do. Nobody on LAFC PR went, hey, Mark, not a great idea. Mark Delgado didn't hear or feel his spider sense tingling as he walked in going, hey, this might be a setup right before the derby. Philly, I need to get your take on this because I was like 8 kinds of pissed off at Mark Delgado before the match.
I guess real quick, I'm actually surprised because when we joked about it on One More Sleep, we referenced that this happened. This was on social media, like you said, on Friday. I thought you had already seen this when we made the joke about the double agent scenario. I'm actually quite surprised that you're just seeing this now. Supposedly, he didn't even get the ring. To me, this was a very bad and in poor taste scenario from Galaxy PR. And to your point, how come nobody at LAFC said anything? They did it. I don't know if it was staged or done on purpose in the sense that, look, it was also his birthday, and they claimed that maybe we should do this on his birthday. But how many days are there in a year? You're telling me they couldn't have done this on any other day? If they would have done it on the field before the game happened, no big deal. We've done that to players on the opposition as well. But this is the biggest rivalry. We state that it's the biggest rivalry in Major League Soccer. So to see one of our own go up the 110, but still display those tears, yes, he earned everything within his right mind. The emotions are fine. just a couple of days before this heated rivalry between two teams that don't like each other. I'll tell you this, at the end of the game, it didn't look like they didn't like each other because you got Olivier Giroud hugging Marco Reus. You got Steve Cherundolo hugging Marco Reus. We can't claim this is the biggest rivalry in Major League Soccer when you see this. I'm off the field, fine. Off the camera, fine. Not in the heat of battle, not before. And there's a nice clip about Bradley Wright Phillips getting into a debate with Sasha Klesch and Dax McCarty on the Apple TV stuff. I don't think this is a poor look for both sides, quite honestly. It's not just the Galaxy for doing that. It's also on LAFC for allowing Marky Delgado to do this. But in the grand scope of it all, none of this ish matters if we go out there and pulverize them the way that we should have done so. That's what makes it even more sour and disgusting. What matters is what happened on the pitch, and that's why I'm still disappointed. All the other stuff to me is just a storyline. It's distraction. Maybe it's adding kerosene to a fire. But if we win by a score of 3-0 or 3-1, like you and I predicted, I don't care. I don't look back on this as anything other than, you know what? It's snakes making themselves evident and just bad publicity and PR.
Yeah, and I don't buy people are saying in the chat right now, Punk and Cougar and a couple of others. By the way, Philly, you're wearing white, so maybe I got to worry about you being a double agent next. But
I'm going retro.
No, but my frustrating thing is, okay, let's say he was duped and he was supposed to, receive the ring and all this happened. No one drove him to Carson to go do all that stuff on Friday. He needs to say, you know what? No, I appreciate the gesture. I appreciate the thought. But if you want to do it pre-match, I'll do it pre-match. If you want to do it post-match, we can do it post-match. I got to be honest, that's the part that I didn't like when he, after the match, he was very upset. He felt deceived, this, that. No, I watched the post-game presser just like the rest of you. I don't buy it. I don't care. Just like I don't love Steve Cherundolo's decision about his tactics and his explanation about cramping and everything else. The problem with LAFC is that we went soft both after the game and 2 days before the game. And I'm really frustrated at the way we played the match. I'm really frustrated at the way we prepared for the match. And I'm really frustrated at the way we explained how we blew it all in the match. I got a lot of feels, and I'm just pissed off today.
Well, I mean, very rarely do we see you pissed off. You're normally playing devil's advocate and talking me off the ledge. But maybe for the first time in a while, you and I could both be pissed off together. Because I, too, am pissed off. And yeah, I saw somewhere in the chat, I missed it. I'm not going to scroll through about us being pro Steve. Yes, we have been pro Steve. But I'm not pro anything as to what happened yesterday. I'm not walking out of here with this defeatist mindset. Well, hold on. That's not a defeatist mindset. I'm not walking out with this mindset, well, at least we didn't lose and they're still undefeated and they still haven't won a game. Horse pucky. We should have won that game and we should have done it convincingly. We had the opportunity. We got bailed out. We really got bailed out. Let's just put it this way, because we very well could have lost that game. It was a rough performance. I don't want to say cowardly, but it was a very rough performance. We go up 2-1. We get bailed out by VAR. Drew Fisher, the reigning MLS referee of the year, was at the helm. We got lucky in a couple of senses. Hollingshead with the shin on Joseph Paintsel. And if you go back and watch that probably could have gone the Galaxy's favor. I'm not happy about a lot of things. But we haven't even started the episode in the sequences that we should. So why don't we get to that? And then I don't want to blow my anger load just yet.
All right. So let's get to some news and notes. And then of course, you know what? We're going to put this day in LAFC history aside for today so that we can really discuss this 25th edition of the Derby. Obviously you all know, we've probably already all talked about it a whole bunch. But LAFC playing Club America for the spot in the Club World Cup Saturday, May 31st, 7:30 p.m., all the marbles at BMO Stadium. Club America looks great right now in Liga MX. We look just okay right now. It is going to be an uphill effort. But more specifically, LAFC, if they win, will be a part of Group 4 in the Club World Cup, which consists of Chelsea, yes, that Chelsea, Flamengo in Brazil, and ES Tunis of Tunisia. Should we win that match to play in the Club World Cup, you know Defenders will do a full breakdown of all 3 matches in their Club World Cup schedule, including in-depth preview episodes for each match. there's a very good chance, Philly, that after 90 minutes at BMO on May 31st, we get to talk about LAFC taking on Chelsea. I mean, pinch me now. How cool will that be? I don't know.
No, that's yes, that'll be cool. But the team from Tunisia, Scarf, that should be the team that you are beyond excited to possibly bear witness to. Do you have any idea why?
Go ahead.
Not because of their 106-year history. Well, I'm talking a little bit. Do me a favor. Go to their Wikipedia page and you tell me who the chairman of EST is. Go right now and I just want to see your reaction. I'm going to comment when I see your reaction. It's going to be genuine. Why don't you tell the millions and millions who the chairman is? There you have it. There you have. This is the closest you are going to get to Gianluigi Buffon. Defenders, the chairman of this Tunisian club is Scarf's favorite player in the history of his football fandom. Gianluigi Buffon, you might get an opportunity to be close with him, rub elbows with him. I don't know what the story may be, but that should be the club you're excited to possibly go into battle against. Not Chelsea for obvious reasons, not Flamengo because of their history, but because your favorite player is the chairman of the Tunisian club.
What is Gigi Buffon doing I'm all for it. Good job. I'm proud of you, Gigi. But what? I'm blown away right now. My favorite player.
Your reaction was genuine, so that's why I didn't want to tell you. I wanted you to look it up.
That was incredible. I love that.
Defenders, for those listening, do yourselves a favor. If you just like to listen to us and you can't stand our faces for radio, just go to the 11th minute of this pod just to genuinely see the look of excitement on Scar's face. This is about the happiest that you could see him throughout the duration of this entire flipping podcast, because the rest of it is going to be annoying as crap. And I agree with Tony in the chat. Don't ever hug your enemy, by the way. I'm in total agreement with that. But it was nice seeing a happy Scarf, knowing that maybe, just maybe, he can take a whiff of the excellence that is Gianluigi Buffon.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to do a deep dive on this later because we're going to do a deep dive for you. And clearly, I had not yet done my deep dive on ES Tunis just yet. But wow, okay. Listen, I would love to be able to break down Tunisia's finest in ES Tunis.
It's a big club, man. I mean, they only lost 2 games over the course of their regular season.
Yeah.
And they have a 65,000 capacity statement, 106-year history. Like, it's funny. We view our club in this grandiose way. And to us, it is grandiose. To many of us, it's our favorite club in any sport that we follow. But you take a club like EST, not obviously the wrestler Bianca Belair. She is the EST. But the history that so many of these clubs have worldwide, globally, that we just don't have any inkling of is incredibly. It's just incredible to me. 106-year history. We've been around for a cup of tea in the grand scheme of it all. While this Tunisian club, 106 years. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't have to tell you about Chelsea and Flamengo either.
Nope.
Look, because of this match, MLS and LAFC have rescheduled 2 home matches. The Sporting Kansas City match that was supposed to have been played on Wednesday, May 28th, has now been moved to Sunday, June 8th at 6 p.m. And the Colorado Rapids match that was supposed to be played Saturday, May 31st, has now been moved to Wednesday, July 9th. Of course, those are both home matches at BMO. So make sure you update your calendar and check your schedule because, again, Sporting Kansas City moved to Sunday, June 8th, and Colorado Rapids moved to Wednesday, July 9th. The only other bit of news and notes that I have, Philly, is that Kai Kamara is now no longer an option at the number 9 spot for LAFC as he signs with FC Cincinnati. Look, we all wanted Kai Kamara back, and I bet there's a lot of people in our front office that wanted Kai Kamara back. The bottom line is, and Philly, you and I got to kind of experience this firsthand. We talked about this with him. He was flying back and forth from his home in Kansas City to play and to practice with LAFC. It probably wasn't going to be realistic that we bring him back. I think he wanted one season in his adopted hometown of Los Angeles, and it was an incredible season for him. But now signing with FC Cincinnati, it's his record 12th. He is the Jesse Orozco of Major League Soccer, 12th team in MLS. He sits just 3 goals away from 150 in regular season matches. He has played sparingly in the first 2 matches of the season that he was eligible for FC Cincinnati. But I'm just bummed, Philly, that we can't get a late season edition of Kai Kamara.
You know, whether he's traveling from Kansas City to Los Angeles or Kansas City to Cincinnati, just because he's back in the Midwest doesn't mean that that's very, very short trip. That's still a 600-mile difference between KC and Cincy. That's still a flight. There's no way anybody's driving that. So whether you want to fly, you might as well just stay in a place like Los Angeles. That's all I'm going to say. Look, we knew he was gone. And it's unfortunate, but, you know, good on him. Let him go. He said he wanted to play till he was 45. He'll turn 41 this season. So let's just see how long he can keep it going. At the end of the day, do we want to hang on to a nostalgia thing, or do we actually want to build something with somebody that's going to be around for a little while longer than Kai Kamara? I mean, kind of dangerous to rely upon a veteran that's on the 4th floor. I mean, he is an anomaly when it comes to being a physical specimen, sure, but this isn't the kind of guy that you want to invest in for the longer haul. And obviously with a team that likes to play checkers as of late, mainly chess on a macro scale, this wouldn't have been anything that I would have been more surprised had we kept him than anything else.
Yeah, look, I would have loved Kai Kamara back, though, because he was such a great guy in the locker room. He was an incredible guy in the interview room when we were there in the press conferences. He was amazing for that. So look, either way, I know you and I both feel the same way. Good on Kai Kamara, and we'll be supporting him from afar unless they play us. Either way, let's check in real quick with LAFC 2. LAFC 2, since taking our last look at them, here's an update on how the boys have fared in their last 3 matches. May 4th, a 3-2 home win over the Rapids U23 squad with 2 goals for DeCarlo Guerra. May 9th, a 2-1 road loss to VCFC, which used to be Los Gros. First team LAFCer Adam Saldana with a beautiful red card in the 73rd minute. Solid effort there, bud. Way to go. And May 14th, 3-0 road loss to Timbers 2. Their next match, Friday, May 23rd at Sporting Kansas City 2 at 4 p.m. And then Philly, checking in over on Angel City. We just want to remind everybody that for all your Angel City needs, please follow at Angel City Chicks on all your social media platforms. They did lose 2-0 up in San Jose to Bay FC, but Philly, far more important than that, it looks like Savvy King has been released from the hospital, and she is going to be okay. It's been a scary week plus for King and her family, but it appears she had successful surgery to repair an issue with her heart after going down in the 80-some-odd minute of the match.
74th.
Just about a week ago, and it was scary. I mean, by all accounts, right, they had to perform CPR, use the defibrillator. She had a serious medical issue there on the pitch. Our thoughts are with King, her family, and her loved ones during the recovery process. At BMO Stadium, you can watch Angel City FC take on Racing Louisville Saturday, May 24th at 7 p.m. That's all I got, Philly. Got anything else here, or are we just going to dive right in to the disappointing draw?
Let's do that. Let's put it this way. I will never cackle anymore when they say corner kick brought to you by Cedar Sinai. Cedar Sinai did a great job in taking care of Savvy King. And that was a scary, scary scenario. And obviously it's changing the protocol that NWSL is going to utilize going forward. I mean, nothing like this has ever happened in the NWSL. And there was so much debate regarding whether or not the game should have continued. And it turns out that, well, the powers that be, and if, God forbid anything like this does happen again, they will not continue to play. So yeah. That's the only bit. That's the only add-on that I'll throw on there. In the NWSL, they changed the rules a couple years ago to say that, you know, a complete game is up to 75 minutes, and they were right around that 74th minute. So had they even stopped it for that reason, I mean, they probably would have honored it because it would have been in that complete game status anyway. And yeah, Angel City wouldn't have. Well, that was a different result, but. You know, it's just awful. It reminds me of the Hank Gathers scenario. I mean, just going back to it. Hank Gathers of Loyola Marymount, for those that weren't alive at that point, look up Hank Gathers because he suffered a heart problem in a game against, I think it was Portland, and he didn't get carried off the court alive. Scary, scary moments, man.
I mean, look, I thought my first thought was Christian Eriksen, too, just a couple of years ago as he had that medical emergency on the pitch. Bottom line is she's a 20-year-old kid, man. I'm just so glad that they found this and that, you know, apparently, according to everything that's been released, she had surgery to repair the issue and should make a full recovery and looks like she'll be out on the pitch. Hopefully, if not this season, then sometime soon for the 20-year-old Savvy King. All right. So let's get into, not just Bronny James, by the way. Bronny James had the heart issue, and a player on USC, I forget his last name, but it was a really, really long last name, who played with Bronny James, or maybe the year before, had a heart issue as well.
Yeah, Vincent, 2 years in a row USC had
it was like Vincent Iwachukwu, I think was his name. Might have been the players. Oh, look, I don't want to talk about more heart issues. That also hits a little close to home. You know that. Look, LAFC heads down to Carson for the 25th edition of El Trafico. And the big storyline going into it, as we all know, is that Galaxy are essentially 0 for the season coming in. Yes, they beat Herediano in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but in MLS, 10-3. That's 10 losses, 3 draws. And this isn't just the worst start for a defending champion in league history, because it's definitely that. But Philly, the worst start in league history now. I mean, look, we'll let the cat out of the bag. You guys all know it was a draw. Now it's by 3 games, the worst start ever. But going into this, the worst start ever by 2 games.
Even they were neck and neck for that wooden spoon contention with Club de Foot Montreal, until Montreal finally got themselves a win against New York City Football Club at the beginning of the month. So yeah, worst start in MLS history. I think I'm trying to think of teams to compare them to. Obviously, there are no champions in any league that I know of that had this kind of a start, but I think they had I think Bochum in the Bundesliga had just as bad of a start, but Bochum just barely survived relegation. This is a bad Galaxy team, but for a number of reasons. I mean, injuries, obviously. Peck and Paintsill have not been up to snuff for quite some time. When the Red Bull put a touchdown on them, neither of those 2 players were there, although they were on the pitch at one point or another in the SKC game, but you can't say that either of the 2 are healthy. They absolutely make a huge difference for this team, and we'll get more into that as well. But the problem with keeping parity in Major League Soccer is the team wins trophies, players get bonuses count against the salary cap, and players have to get sold. There's just no way around it. And it's unfortunate because they lost the likes of a Dejan Joveljic, who was kind of overshadowed by the killer P's, Pooch, Peck, and Paintsill. But Joveljic was their top scoring threat last season, no question about it. He's a Sporting Kansas City. Gaston Brugman, who played an incredible postseason, he's not there. Jalen Neal, a defender who was upcoming, I know he wasn't there anymore. Marco Delgado, obviously going to LAFC. And then Ricky Pooch, that's the biggest one, period. Turns out that he might not even be ready until probably closer to the fall, as opposed to the end of summer. But when you lose so many players, you can't have the hopes of repeating, but you can have the hopes of at least winning 1 game in your first in the first 13 or so of the season. This, without question, the worst team start ever. And I saw Punk mention it in the chat, how the Galaxy likes to refer to us as Chivas 2.0. Well, now they're beating the Chivas records of the past, when Chivas was in piss poor form as well. And we certainly didn't help our cause by allowing them a point in this game. That's for sure.
Yeah, and look, it's not just that they are injured and that they lost players. It's that the players that they brought in, the likes of Lucas Sanabria, who has not been very good. Zenka, their defender, has not been very good. Maya Yoshida's taken a step back. Emiro Garces has taken a step back. They're scoring own goals more than they're scoring goals for themselves. And it's just everything that could have possibly gone wrong this season has gone wrong. Let's not forget 4 games ago, Carson lost 1-0 to Sporting Kansas City, and Sporting Kansas City didn't shoot the ball. Okay. So we couldn't beat a team that lost to a team without shooting the ball. And then, as you mentioned, touchdown plus the extra point from New York Red Bull. We couldn't beat a team that gave up 7 goals just a week earlier. And then Ty Baribo scoring at the death for Philadelphia to extend the losing streak for Carson even further. We couldn't find something late, although Ryan Hollingshead in his Scorpion kick gave it a nice little go there. It's just really, really frustrating that we weren't able to do it. But I do want to say something that Matthew Juarez just brought up. I was there. I was in the stadium, sitting just a couple sections over from the 3252. It was as engaged, as loud, and as electric as I have ever heard the 32-52. In fact, there were large swatches of the match where the Victoria's Secret over there on their back end was stone silent. They were barely able to be heard. I rewatched the game on the broadcast. You could hear the 32-52 pretty much the entire time. They were as electric as I have ever heard them, and absolutely an incredible showing by all the traveling support. Look, we watch and we take in, Philly, a lot of MLS content. I would die to see any other club bring 1,000 away supporters. Yes, I know it's only a 13-mile ride, but you don't see things like that at the Hell is Real derby. You don't see things like that in Cascadia, even though Portland and Seattle are only an hour or two away from each other. You don't see that in the Hudson River derby, even though they're occupying like the same phone booth in New Jersey and New York. It just kills me that there's just such terrible away support. And man, does it feel great to know that our club is the club that has the best traveling support in the league.
No question about it. And for the Hudson River Derby, by the way, it's not as close as you would think. It's actually a lot further than what it is between BMO and Dignity Health Sports Park. You're talking about a 25-mile difference from going to Harrison all the way to Queens. So let's just throw that out there, just for geography purposes. Yeah, no question about it. We have the best supporters in this league. The traveling support has always been incredible. Why? Because the supporters care about the club. In some cases, probably care about the club. To some of us, this is our livelihood. And well, some could say, oh, that's unfortunate. You must not have a really great life. No, thank you very much. I have a damn good life, probably better than most of y'all, but I give a damn about this club. And so do so many other people. So that's one thing we can say, no question about. We got some unbelievable fans that care about this club that'll follow it through thick and thin. And it was a beautiful spectacle to behold of. I don't want to call it a spectacle. That has negative connotations to it. It was a beautiful showing, if anything else. And you could certainly hear it on the TV. It was loud, it was audible, and it was beautiful. What wasn't beautiful is the result that the traveling supporters got from what happened on the pitch. That's not what was beautiful. But, you know, people could say, well, we win in the stands. Yeah, that's fine. I get it. But I'd prefer to also win on the pitch because that was a game that we absolutely should have won.
And Lachero says, don't forget, Philly, apparently the 32-52, the traveling support, gets paid to be there.
That's incredible. I'd love to know how much each of y'all get in your pocket. I mean, enough to buy a kit, enough to buy a scarf. Whoever came up with this propaganda, I would love to just shake their neck. I don't know anything about this. Who the hell does? Yeah, we're paid. We're mercenary supporters. Yeah, give me a fucking
right. I think the other crazy part is, by the way, right before this, is that in the midst of a 14-match winless streak to start the season, they choose the night before the derby to announce that Greg Vanney has a contract extension. I'm blown away that Galaxy chose then to announce it. What I have heard from a couple of sources who I asked is that Greg Vanney's contract extension was automatically triggered by winning MLS Cup. And they just chose to announce it late. Now, I don't know if that's 100% true or not, but I have heard that from a couple of people within the Galaxy. It's pretty incredible to me that they waited until the night before to announce that in the midst of a winless in 14 stretch for Carson. But anyway, Greg Vanney in his 5th season at the helm for Carson has won 69 giggity matches, has lost 64, and has drawn 41. So under Greg Vanney, they are far from the juggernaut that they would like to tell you that they are. Obviously, in the bad start, you're going to see some really bad stats. Just 10 goals scored through 13 matches. But don't worry, we gave up 2 to them. And the minus 21 differential is 9 worse than any club in the league. They've allowed 6 more goals than any club in the league. They're just not good, and yet we couldn't put them away.
There's just something about traveling down to Dignity Health Sports Park that I don't know what it is. Like, I don't believe in these curses. Like, the curse of the Bambino, I never bought into that as far as the baseball or the curse of the Go, why the Titanic sinking for the longest time was more recent than the Cubs World Series. I don't buy into this, but, I mean, yes, you said it. A terrible Galaxy team that really just, we can't do anything proper in Dignity Health Sports Park. We were up 2-0 last season, and we somehow blew it and lost 4-2. We've won once. Just once in that building, and that goes back to what? April of 2023. Other than that, we've either lost or tied, and that just consistently happens. I don't understand why. It's just, it blows my mind. And in particular, in a season where we absolutely could have crippled this team, we didn't do it. We failed. We gave them a point, and you know what? We might have actually triggered something that we didn't want to have happen all season long. Give them a shred of hope and a little bit of confidence, because quite honestly, we're not a bad team this season. But when it comes to records and tactics and all that stuff and rivalry matches, it all goes out the window, as did our ability to gain 3 points. That went out the window. We absolutely should have won this game.
Yeah, let's break it down. I'll start with the lineup for the Galaxy. They come out in a very predictable 4-3-3, according to MLSsoccer.com. And, of course, our good buddy, friend of the podcast, John McCarthy, in goal for Carson. Their back line consisting of John Nelson, Amiro Garces, Maya Yoshida, and Mickey Yamane. Their new addition in the midfield is Lucas Sanabria, wearing number 8, Marky Delgado's old number. Edwin Cerrillo and the German legend, Marco Reus, who certainly put his fingerprints all over this match. In the midfield, Diego Fagundes, who is just 30 years old, but already in his 15th year in the league. That is not a misprint.
75 and 75.
The guy has been around for forever, and he is extremely talented. Christian Ramirez, their team leader in goals with 5.
44.
And returning to the 5 total in all competitions.
They're all right.
And Gabriel Peck making his return to the starting lineup. Turns out everybody knows he's really good. The players we would see in the 18, Joseph Paintsel, Julian Aude, Isaiah Parente, Mauricio Cuevas, and Mateus Nascimento. That would be the 18 for Carson. Philly, what about LAFC?
Everything up until we got to the forwards, I would say, was pretty normal. Hugo Lloris in between the sticks, Palencia, Segura, Aaron Long, Ryan Hollingshead. No surprises there. Delgado, Igor Jesus, Timothy Tillman in the midfield. Denny Bawanga was out there. You and I anticipated, and we thought we would get Cengiz Under and Jeremy Abobasi to start up top with Denny Bawanga, although that would not happen. The youngsters got the start. Nathan Ordaz and David Martinez, and that's really got to tell you something about what the veterans are doing. Cengiz Under, for the most part, is not a veteran. Obviously, he's still on loan till June 30th and more than likely going back to Fenerbahce unless we happen to convince them to sell him or extend his loan at a discounted price. But it speaks volumes as to the faith that the technical staff has in Ordaz and Martinez to still sit an Abobasi, dare I say, a Giroud in a situation like this against your rivals. The players coming that make up the 18, Under, Marlon, Abobasi, Frankie Amaya, Ryan Raposo, not in the 18 yet, by the way, for LAFC, barely above 18 himself, by the way. And so that's the team that we fielded. Scarf, when Galaxy had possession in this game, Galaxy looked deadly, as was evident in the first 10 or so minutes of the game. Once LAFC started regaining possession, sort of neutralized Peck in the attack. But right out of the gates, this team came out hot and hungry, and it looked like it was going to be a really long day for us.
I mean, 80 seconds in, Gabriel Peck beats Eddie Segura up the right side. Now, granted, they weren't able to do anything because nobody else made the run. And I looked over at Greg Vanney, and Greg Vanney, after that pass through the box where absolutely nobody was running with Gabriel Peck, he was screaming at Christian Ramirez to continue to make the run. And so you have just 5 minutes later, Philly, on 2 straight possessions, I don't know, their best player on the pitch going up the right-hand side yet again. Ryan Hollingshead did not have a very good first half with Gabriel Peck. Eddie Segura on that side as well, clearly picking on what I would say are the weaker of the two sides, with Palencia and Long on the opposite side. Just really frustrating. They make a nice little give and go, 4 passes, and it's Christian Ramirez, of all people, then makes that beautiful layoff pass for a completely in stride Gabriel Peck. And look, Greg Vanney yelled at his guys for not making the run 5 minutes earlier. 2 free runners in the box, both Diego Fagundes and Marco Royce. And it's Marco Royce, Philly, who it looks like he tapped it in with like maybe a thigh or a hip or a quad or something. But a nightmare start for LAFC as we go down after 6 minutes, all because of a great run by Gabriel Peck.
Indeed, and yes, Royce does get credit for the first goal, and not one that's going to come up on your goals of the week highlights. Sort of accidental, but there was no one there to clean up the trash. And yes, nightmare start indeed, because our record when we concede first, we haven't won a game all season. I think 0-6-2 or 0-6-3 coming into this contest. However, when we do score, that's a bigger thing. And when we score, obviously, we take the crowd out of it. The crowd as intense as it'll ever be at Dignity Health Sports Park for the remainder of the year. I promise you their next game, you're not going to sense that. You're not going to have that kind of atmosphere. So if that was your first game ever at Dignity Health Sports Park, don't be fooled. I've been there a ton of times too. You are not going to see that kind of environment until next season when LAFC comes back in there. I would dare I say it wasn't even that crazy when the Red Bull were in town to play them in the MLS Cup final, which, by the way, still the last time the Galaxy won a game against an MLS team. Last December. But Royce feeling himself a little bit, man. I mean, he had a couple of assists in the game against the Philadelphia Union, in the right place at the right time. And yes, a nightmarish start, but it really didn't take long for us to answer back either, though.
I mean, look, Philly, for all I was worried about with Marky Delgado being a double agent, luckily he's not, right? It's Marky Delgado who steps in front. And look, it was great that Marky Delgado got the takeaway. It's not like he threaded like a perfect pass for an in-stride Denis Bouanga. All he did, was slowly push the pass over to Denis, and then Denis did the rest of the work. Where was this the rest of the match, though? Denis, I know they were doubling and tripling Denis' side, but I really liked how aggressive Denis was. It was obviously a missile into the back of the net with an XG, a whopping 0.03. That means 3% of the time a shot from that distance is a goal. But, I mean, he had no doubt. He stepped right into it. Philly got the laces behind it and absolutely bombed that one in the back of the net. 7 goals in his last 7 matches. 8 goals in 8 matches against Carson. And all right, 13 minutes in, Philly, we've done our job, right? We're level.
We're level, yes, and that really did take the air out of the crowd, because now that sense of doubt and insecurity starts to hit everybody that's wearing white. Other than me, this is a retro LAFC jersey at this point, retro. But the doubt starts to creep into the mind, in particular after one hell of a golazo by Denis Bouanga. It's safe to say Denis the Destroyer is back, and we absolutely needed that from him. When we maintained possession, we looked threatening. Galaxy was pretty much anemic for the rest of the half. Yeah, Philly and Bufanda. That's right. Thank you, Juan Vargas. We looked, I'm not going to say great, but we looked a lot better, and we totally neutralized them, even up until Nathan Ordaz scored to begin the second half. We'll talk more about that later. But Gabriel Peck can't be threatening when Gabriel Peck doesn't have the ball. How does Gabriel Peck not have the ball? Why? Because LAFC would manage to maintain possession and actually pass the ball around much better than they did within the first 10 minutes. I'm not really paying too much attention to the chat. I'm trying to focus in on this. But yes, we look like the switch flipped once Denis Bouanga managed to get that goal. And as he's done time and time again, carrying LAFC on his shoulders.
Yeah, look, the frustrating part for me in the first half after we scored that goal, I was waiting, and he was awake one time in like the 27th minute as David Martinez puts that ball over the crossbar. I wanted an inspired David Martinez from this one, and I just didn't see it. I was really disappointed in the way David played. Nate getting a little tentative there in the 35th minute in the box, and it wound up being like Eddie Segura, right, who had one of the best chances for us in the 39th minute.
Oh, yeah. Shots missed. What a big goal that would have been for him.
Yeah, and it was a strange first half for us. That whole 43rd, 44th minute sequence where we have 6, 7, 8 passes in and around the box, and we can't get a shot off because Denis was being a little too unselfish looking for Timothy Tillman. And yet the transition the other way, Eddie Segura steps in front, and the guy turned around, the guy who was sitting in front of me, I got a couple Galaxy fans who were sitting in front that I had good banter with the entire match. He just looks at me and he goes, Well, how bad were those last two sequences? And they were. I mean, they were terrible. The match opened up. The game opened up for both sides, but nobody could do anything with it. And that's why we end the half 1-1. But you're absolutely right, Philly. It was downhill traffic for LAFC for the last 30 minutes or so of the first half, and yet nothing to show for it. That's my biggest frustration.
I would agree. And you mentioned Denny was trying to be too unselfish, getting the ball over to Timothy Tillman. Look, there's things that Timothy Tillman does well, and there's things that absolutely are frustrating sometimes watching the kid play. One thing's for sure, outside of the box, he's not a threat. Timothy Tillman does not scare any goalkeeper or any opposing backlines because he just doesn't have the precision or the mustard behind his shot. And quite honestly, neither did David Martinez as he let one sail into the crowd. But it was fine to have a 1-1 result, but you can sense the tide and the momentum happening and going into our favor. Galaxy, our team that have lost a lot of leads, and going out of the locker room, we had 10 shots, 2 of them on target. They had 7 with 3 on target. I absolutely thought that we would come in guns a-blazing in the second half and put it to them. You and I believe that we would end up winning 3-1, and I really carried that on for quite some time. We had some really good defensive plays. Yes, Sergi Palencia did some nice things. Honestly, Eddie Segura had some really nice plays. Aaron Long had some nice plays. Other than the first 10 minutes where Gabriel Peck was absolutely burning that side of the field, Ryan Hollingshead changed the scope of his game too. Ryan Hollingshead would get involved offensively. We're going to talk about that in a second. But yeah, you could feel that we had this one, that it was actually going to swing in our favor. It was that confidence that you and I exhibited on one more sleep. And we were surely proved right when Nate Ordaz struck in the early moments of the second half.
Yeah, I thought we might see a halftime substitution for David Martinez, but happy they left Nathan Ordaz out there. I loved the aggression by Ryan Hollingshead. Look, he didn't have a great night defensively, Ryan Hollingshead, but what he brings to the table that almost no other defender in MLS has brought over the course of their career is the offensive acumen. The former striker at UCLA, when he was playing just a few miles away in Westwood, he has that sense. He has that knack of knowing where to be. Ryan Hollingshead did a great job to cut the ball inside, and then a perfect seam ball to Nathan Ordaz. A beautiful first touch with his left foot. Perhaps he had gotten chewed out in the locker room at halftime for not taking a one touch in the 35th minute. But I really did love Ryan Hollingshead on that play. Look, something special about the guy, for maybe it's because he wears 24 and he's in LA. I don't know, but he's offensively minded, just like another offensively minded 24 was for a really long time. And we needed that from Ryan Hollingshead, that perfect ball and the no hesitation by Nathan Ordaz. That was a big one. So we go up 2-1, and then the chess match kind of begins, right, Philly?
Well, at that point, yeah, this is where Vanny outcoached Steve. Dare I say it? Vanny outcoached Steve the rest of the way. Just one more thing about Nathan Ordaz. His 3rd MLS goal of the year, 5th in all competitions. Had an interview with him on Soccer and 60 a couple months ago. He said he wanted to be that dude, and he's been that dude. It was a great shot that he fired in near post, beating John McCarthy. As good as it gets. Not to mention the pass was beautiful. His run splitting through 2 defenders was great. It was incredible. But yes, after that, momentum, instead of shifting positively, started dwindling. And then the Galaxy started getting back involved in this game, primarily after we started to make some substitutions right around the 60th or so minute. Ordaz and Martinez come out for a Bobasi and Cengiz Ünder. And at first, I thought that was smart, because I thought those two were going to start to begin with, because of the fact that they're older. They played in more of these types of games. They just have the more maturity than a David Martinez would have, just more experience in these types of culture. And I thought that was a really good move. But then you put Joseph Paintsil in for Christian Ramirez. And Paintsil not showing any signs of any injury. And it was stated on the broadcast how quickly he ran after a ball that was heading out. Joseph Paintsil was incredibly hard to defend, and he single-handedly changed the entire complexion of this game.
Look, Joseph Paintsil might have the worst first or second touch in the league. Those are some cement boots that he wears on occasion. But his great equalizer, his plus attribute is to get over the top and get going in a hurry. In fact, and I have never seen this happen before, but I saw it happen on the pitch last night. Sergi Palencia, in a full sprint, looks at Joseph Paintsel as Paintsel is going by and just goes, oh, crap. Had nothing on Joseph Paintsel. He is a blur up the left side, and when you have the blur up the left side and the skill up the right side of Gabriel Peck, that is a dangerous 1-2 combination. Now, I do want to say something out there for all the Dolo haters. If you buy into the fact that both players were cramping, because this is what they said in the post-game press conference, in the 69th giggity minute, Frankie Amaya has to come on for a cramping Marky Delgado. Now, one thing that I have heard that may have led to the cramps is there were a lot of tears earlier in the week, that maybe the dehydration of the tears of receiving the ring may have led to potentially some cramping in the 69th minute. Look, I thought Delgado played great for us. I thought he was fine. I'm not insinuating anything other than how pissed off I am at him receiving the ring in the way that he did. But he comes off in the 69th minute for cramping. And so, according to Steve, his hands were tied with that sub and the subsequent sub in the 75th minute of Timothy Tillman coming off. My whole frustration is, Philly, as we go through the 18 in this match, right? And I look at the lineups. I look down at the 18 for LAFC. And the bottom line is I see a guy like Yaboa who can play midfield. We obviously have already subbed in Frankie Amaya. And the problem is we brought in Ryan Raposo, who plays midfield, Odin Thiago Holm, who plays midfield, but neither one of them are either healthy enough or good enough to crack a an 18 for LAFC. So I would have much rather seen Yaboa, a player who has a plus attribute of his own in speed. Ask Ryan Hollingshead from the 2023 MLS Cup final. I would have much rather have brought him on than bringing on Marlon 15 minutes with 15 minutes left to play. Yes, we're up 2-1, but that type of defending for 15 minutes just puts a team on its heels for far too long.
Well, yeah, and it just goes back to what happened in the first half. When we maintained possession, there was nothing that they could do. Peck was incredibly hard to mark in the first half. Now you have Peck and Paintsel running all over the place. There was nobody on that team. Not very many people within this league that could really keep up with that kid when he's healthy and running in the way that he is. And with giving them the possession and allowing them to really dictate the pace and control the tempo, something was bound to happen. This Fluffhead's comment might be the comment of the season that I've caught thus far. Steve's dreaming of ice-cold German winters where buses never run, they only park. Fluffhead, I could tell you from experience, having lived there for myself, German buses always run. But yes, you're right. Ice-cold German winters are very much a thing. Park the bus we did. Rather than go full throttle and just continue to ram it down John McCarthy's throat, we allowed them back into the game. There is one thing that John McCarthy did do that I saw as rather classy. When there was the collision that he had on the pitch, he very adamantly just made the motion to get the trainers out onto the field. I forget at this point who we made contact with.
I believe it was David Martinez, wasn't it?
Hold on. I think I might have written this down. Blah, 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 blah. No, I don't have it in. But yes, look, I think he might have cleaned out Martinez at that point. But very classy move by J-Mac. I will give him that. But anyway, that's the only thing I wanted to reference. From here on out.
But here's my question.
What?
If he cleaned him out, why isn't it a foul? Why isn't it a dog-so? Last man.
Well, that's actually, I mean, I'd have to go back to watch that replay. But there was a couple of calls that came about that were rather questionable. Where are we at here? I mean, I know you like to do this minute-to-minute thing. I've stopped taking notes This
mean,
way,
Philly,
where are we? We
let's
talked about subs, parking the bus, so we're
let's talk
probably right
about the
around the
offside.
78th minute. So.
Let's talk about the offside.
Okay.
Look, as soon as it happened, now, granted, I was surrounded by Galaxy fans, all of whom, by the way, were very nice, and there was a lot of banter. There was some stuff being talked from both sides. There was, there was a beer that may have been thrown in my general direction when this goal happened. There was a lot of stuff being said, but all, by the way, legitimately, like, it was banter. It was fine. We high-fived after the game. We dabbed it up, and we all went our separate ways and went home. It was really nice. However, as soon as that pass was made, I'm yelling, "He's off! He's off! He's off!" And when they counted the goal, I got several middle fingers and a couple other things from the Galaxy supporters. He wasn't off. This is off, and all. I was cool. All right, great. And I said, but wait, because this one's coming back. I was sure of it in the moment. In fact, where I was sitting in 233, we were lined up pretty much directly with the line for offside. It was an easy call that took a little bit too long to make, but I knew it from the minute it happened. I had a really good angle on it. It was offside. Fisher got that one right. Why did it take, by the way, why doesn't the VAR official just call it offside? I just don't understand. I don't know.
I don't know. You have to put in a call to Armando Villarreal because he's the one that told Drew Fisher to go to the VAR board. And I'm glad you had a good angle. I'm glad that Drew Fisher had a good angle because Aaron Long did manage. I think it was Aaron Long that kept him on side. But how is it that this ghetto-ass league doesn't have the ability to just flip the screens around, throw a line in on the screen like every other legitimate league does, and show us without a shadow of a doubt whether or not something is off or not? It blows my mind. You can charge a team $500 million for the rights to have a team, and that is San Diego FC. You're telling me you can't spring a couple more bucks for this VAR technology that the rest of the world has? I mean, we talk about how there's so many reasons why most people globally don't take Major League Soccer seriously, between players hugging each other after rivalry games to Gam Tam, thank you, man, discovery rights, nonsense, to this stuff too. It's you watch the proper leagues, the Bundesliga, the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, hell, the Eredivisie, Liga, if we're going to throw European, another European league in there, and I don't know, those are just the ones that came to the top of mind. Everybody seems to have this technology. Why does Major League Soccer have it? I mean, give me a break. Yes, Aaron Long, welcome back into the chat. Liga MX, all the VAR money. Why do we not have that? Why do we have to leave it to this type of a scenario? Because quite honestly, until Drew Fisher said no goal, I wasn't sure. And in a rivalry game, this easily could have gone the other way, and it could have kicked us right in the teeth.
Listen, it's an absolute joke. I was talking about it with the two guys in front of me who support a couple different Irish teams, and they were like, this is so silly.
Irish teams, Shamrock Rovers in the house. All right.
Absolutely. And he was like, look, if I was watching any of the teams that I currently root for, it's absolutely ridiculous to me that this is taking so long. We've talked about this, Philly, several seasons now. If you're going to bring in and make all that messy money, if you're going to charge San Diego what you charge them, if you're going to bring in all of these eyes on the sport, put the damn technology in the game. If that means installing 2 or 3 more cameras, if that means installing a little chip in the ball, if that means installing technology, it's absolutely ridiculous that we want to be taken seriously as one of the top 10 leagues in the world, and we have the same technology as the Ghanaian second division. It's absolutely ridiculous to me that this is what MLS has become. But let me tell you something that's a little more ridiculous, because I'm still pissed off. I don't care. You're getting like full pissed scarf today. I trust that a player who has won a World Cup and has captained his side for hundreds and hundreds of matches, I trust that that player knows where the center of the goal box is. I trust that Hugo Lloris can look to the left and go, okay, the left goal post is about that far from me. And then look to the right and go, that one seems a little farther away. I should maybe move to the middle. I have to ask. It's Marco Reus on the ball, who pulled a Toby Keith and was as good once as he ever was. Marco Reus lines up on the ball, and Hugo Lloris is standing closer to the quiet squad over in their little corner of the stadium than he is standing to the center of the goal box. This is Hugo freaking Lloris, one of the best keepers in the history of the sport. He's basically inviting one of the German greats, a 3-time Bundesliga player of the year, to pick a corner and try to put the ball right there. I don't want to hear that was just a perfectly placed free kick, because it's not like it was a laser show from Royce. It's not like we've seen from other players like a Luca Orishano on FC Cincinnati, who's absolutely incredible, or some of these other guys that are putting cannons from deep. This was a chip touch effort because he had the entire side of the goal. Why is Hugo not in the middle of the goal? Somebody call Oka Nikolov. Somebody call Charlie Lyon. Let's get Charlie Lyon back on the show. Ask him what he thinks about it.
All right. I mean, okay, Oka Nikolov, okay, I can understand, yes. For those who don't know who that is, not only is an Eintracht Frankfurt legend, but he's our goalkeeper coach. But Charlie Lyon, that's a bit pushing. And I know you're feeling a little froggy, buddy. Don't completely jump down the crazy path from lily pad to lily pad. But yes, you're right. You could probably chat GPT Marco Royce's free kick tendencies. And you know what? I do it, defenders. One of y'all do it. I'm sure ChatGPT will tell you he has the ability to curl it. And curl it he did, because he had all the space in the world. When that goal happened, I don't know what it was I was eating at the time, but chopsticks were certainly flying in the air. It wasn't sushi, as easy of an answer as that might be for some sarcastic folks in the room. Why did we give up that much space for that goal? You're right. Royce hasn't been Royce in MLS, but we made him look like a superstar. We made a bad Galaxy team look semi-decent with the way that we were marking them and playing defensively. At 2-2, I thought we lost it. Well, we didn't even cover Scarf. It was even back in like the 70th minute. I'm telling you, not Armando Villarreal bailed us out there again, because Ryan Hollingshead fouled Joseph Painsil. He absolutely did. He clipped him. Taylor Twellman was adamant about it on the broadcast, and you know what? Taylor Twellman was absolutely right. How did they miss that call? How did there just so many things that happened where we should have lost this game, but it should not been a game lost. Sorry, I lost my family-friendly moniker there.
Look, Philly, just getting into stoppage time, which, by the way, 9 minutes turned into 11. Galaxy should have won the game in the first minute of stoppage time. Gabriel Peck left all alone in the box with his left foot, free space. He curls it over the bar. I mean, can you imagine Philly going from 2-1 up in the 87th minute to 3-2 down 4 or 5 minutes later?
Some of that LAFC Christian Ramirez clearly rubbed off on him because he missed the sitter. That should have been the death knell right there.
Absolutely. And look, we almost took it at the death, right? You got this beautiful free kick by Cengiz Ünder, who found Jeremy Abobasi back post, who was doing his best scorpion kick, header over to Ryan Hollingshead, who was doing his best scorpion kick impersonation. A
la Olivier Giroud, by the way.
Right?
He had probably the most famous scorpion kick. But him and Mkhitaryan had a really nice one, too. I think
Right. Who was the goalkeeper that used to save the ball by doing those?
The Colombian keeper.
Yeah, he was doing those two-footed, not Mondragon. Who was it that would do that? I don't remember who it was, but either way, it absolutely could have been us taking it at the dead.
Renee, what was his name?
Well, someone in the chat will know.
Higuita, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, look,
the Colombian keeper from that era of unbelievable of the Valderrama era and the Escobar era.
Yeah, Mikey has your answer, right?
All right, let me read this out since I asked somebody to do it. Mikey, thank you so much. According to Mikey and ChatGPT, Marco Royce, being right-footed, typically prefers taking free kicks from the left side of the pitch, allowing him to curl the ball in toward the far post with a stronger foot. All right, yes, ChatGPT has Marco Royce's tendencies. Unbelievable. We're all effed, by the way, with artificial intelligence. We're all effed.
Look, the problem I had, Philly, with this result, and I know we'll go over the stats, we'll talk about everything, but as
Fluffhead in the chat goes Dolo out.
GPT is, as I was leaving, and I was awful to be around at the end of that match. I was pissed. I'm still pissed.
Yes. Yeah.
Every Galaxy supporter you could hear, wow, I thought we were going to get our butts kicked. I thought we were going to lose 7-1. Man, that really feels good. That maybe this is the start of something. Maybe this team is turning the corner.
Yes.
Hey, like you could hear it from every person wearing an Herbalife sash, how excited they were for a draw. And it absolutely kills me that, to quote the great Dennis Green, like I did last time, they are who we thought they were. And if everybody remembers how he ends the quote, and we let them off the hook. And that's the part that kills me. You're absolutely right, Philly. You said at the beginning, we couldn't step on their throat. We couldn't bury them the way we needed to. And now we're left waiting for a couple of months until we get to play them again.
Well, if we're going to reference, I mean, it's not a Defenders of the Bank season without a reference towards Dennis Green. So if we're going to reference old coaches' quotes, why don't we refer to Casey Stengel in 1962? Let's pretend that we're talking about LAFC. Steve, Philly Scarf, what are your thoughts on LAFC's execution against the Galaxy? We're in favor of it. Yes, That was just a piss-poor result. I don't know how anybody can possibly look at that game and feel happy. Did the Galaxy win? No. Are they still winless? Yes. But who gives a hoot? We should have buried them in their own house and ended their miserable ass season. And you're right. The glimmer of hope now could be exactly what it is to turn the tides. I said this on the podcast that I did, Soccer in 60, with Bradley Wright Phillips, how the most football thing ever could happen. That's LAFC losing to the Galaxy. This was the make or break for their entire season. The make or break for the entire season. If we go in there and give them the absolute whooping that we should have given them, that's it. They're done. I don't care who you are. But now with that glimmer of hope, they survived the rivalry match, so this was their MLS Cup. They may actually be able to turn the tides now with the confidence that they now have in place. With the way Peck and Paintsill played, that was exactly how they positioned themselves in so many games last season where they went undefeated on that ground. Marco Reus picking up steam, that's only going to make things scarier. And we gave them that hope. This is on us. If they make the playoffs, Defenders, it's all because of LAFC's crap performance at Dignity Health Sports Park. Do we have other things to look forward to in the future? We absolutely do. And there it is, that Club America game. If we play anywhere close to the way that we played against the Galaxy, against Club America, we kissed the $10 million goodbye. At that point, we might as well just get bribed. Here, take $5 million, let us win. Sure, no problem, $5 million richer. We'll see how the next couple of performances happen for LAFC. We're going to Montreal to play Club de Foot in the next game. This is the second worst team in Major League Soccer, and not by that much. If we can't put on a convincing performance against another bad team, then yes, I would be nervous against Club America. That goes without saying.
Philly, we got the two wooden spoon contenders lined up before we take on Club America. To me, it should have been a rout against Galaxy, and then we go up to Stade Saputo over in Montreal, and we put it on Montreal next, and we should be rolling in to this match against Club America so that at least we have all the momentum. I already think it's going to be an uphill battle against Club America. They are in pretty good form right now. But if we can't make a statement against Montreal, yeah, I'm worried about Club America. Now, look, all gloves come off. All bets are off. You can throw out the records, do whatever you need to. LAFC knows that for a $10 million payday and the ability to take on clubs the likes of Chelsea, Flamengo, and ES Tunis, for me, that's got to be what you circle on the calendar. So maybe we overlook Montreal going into this Club America game, and maybe the Montreal game doesn't mean as much. I think points on the road are huge.
Yes.
Points, plural, not a point in Carson. Points, plural, on the road are huge, especially when it goes to taking on Montreal. So look, yes, we're up to 5th, 22 points, 3 back of second place, only 6 back of Vancouver. We actually have closed the gap a little bit on Vancouver. It was 9 a while ago. So we're doing some good things. We're 3-0-4 in our last 7. We haven't lost in 7 matches. But this one, and I know you agree with me, Philly, just felt a lot more like a loss than a draw.
Aaron Long in the chat says Victor Oladipo, the best Indiana Hoosier basketball player. I would say Isaiah Thomas was the best Indiana Hoosier basketball player. And in present day, it would be OG Anunoby on the New York Knickerbockers. And now that Aaron Long is saying shout out to my Knicks, I'm very curious as to who you are. I thought I really did think. I really thought I knew. Now you're totally you're totally throwing a wrench in that one. One day I'll figure it out. Yes, I know you're Aaron Long. But anyway, what about Calbert? Scarf. Calbert Cheney got drafted by the Washington Bullets and didn't have that much of a career, and he played for the Golden State Warriors. Best Hoosier ever is Isaiah Thomas. No question.
Wasn't he the best?
What the hell were we talking about, by the way?
What wasn't he? The wooden spoon wanting Montreal and Galaxy.
No, dude, the points are points. Like we have. If we claim that we have the depth that we do, there is zero reason to go into Montreal and do anything other than win. To me, like I need a win against the second worst team in this league. Points do matter. We need to win there. And by the way, if I see any parking of the bus against Club America, unless we're up 5-0, I may question my desire to re-sign my 5-year contract on my effing Founders Club tickets. I don't want to see any parking of the bus against Club America. That being said, we do need to defeat Montreal.
And by the way, yes, Mahala is still on Montreal. Bryce Duke still on Montreal. And Jalen Neal. Jalen Neal left Galaxy to go to Montreal. So there you go. It'll be interesting to see what happens there with that club. I don't want to bus parking either, Philly. Look, match day 15, Saturday, March 24th, 4:30 p.m. We get to take on Montreal. And then after that, it is a 7-day break with the matches that have moved. It's all Club America. LAFC will have a week to prepare for, I'll say it, the biggest match in club history. Because if we win that match, do not pass go directly to go, collect your $200, $10 million in this case, and we get to play in the Club World Cup. So, look, all I'm saying is we got to get through Montreal, Philly, get 3 points, and then huge against Club America.
The Coug brings up something in the chat that actually does make some sense. And I don't know if you want to give any time to this. It's already been 67 minutes, but what does that tell you about the confidence that this team has, the technical staff has in this team to not throw in a player like Olivier Giroud? The only time we ever saw him on the pitch is when he was hugging Marco Reus after the game, shortly after Steve came up and hugged Marco Reus too. Like that to me is just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I find you could be friends. You could do all that stuff. Get out of the way of visibility, because all that's showing me is that this doesn't matter. I know it matters. Professionally, it matters. But to us, we all view things in a completely different light. I am not hugging my friends who are Galaxy fans because they tied the game at that stadium. No, I'm not. But anyway, this goes beyond the fact that Olivier Giroud didn't play. It just goes, look, he's done. He's cooked. That's it.
I think Ante Razov said everything that we needed to hear in his lone press conference of the season when asked about Olivier Giroud playing in an advanced state and clearly not being where we need him to be. I think that the cat is completely now out of the bag, and I think the experiment has to be over. I think in matches that matter, and there may be a couple coming down the pipe that maybe don't matter as much. Maybe if we've already moved on in the round robin in Leagues Cup and the third match doesn't matter, that's when we play Giroud. Or maybe when we're locked into the 1 or the 2 or the 3 or the 4 seed later on down in the playoffs, and maybe the last match of the season doesn't matter, that's when we start Olivier Giroud. But I think you're absolutely right. I think now we can all call what we see as we see it with Olivier. And if he didn't get in to the biggest match of the regular season for LAFC, it tells you a whole lot, not just about the emergence of Nathan Ordaz or the ability of Jeremy Abobasi to put balls into the back of the net, but exactly what we feel Olivier Giroud has left, and that's to be a very expensive paperweight. That's it.
Come on, that's why are you disrespecting paperweights that way? Even they have done more for us than Olivier Giroud has. I mean, my paperweight right now is doing more than Olivier Giroud did. All right, look, I'm very much over this game. I thought I had all the angst and anger just drawn out of me towards the end of last night and this morning. I clearly haven't gotten over this one. It's the worst feeling I've ever had in a draw that LAFC has had in its entire existence. I don't know. Maybe there was another Galaxy game where I felt this, but just a gutless performance that I hope we never see again. And yes, that's my thought on LAFC right now. Red card. The whole team.
Look, I love LAFC more than anything. I did not love this version of LAFC yesterday, but no. I think we're in agreement.
If I wanted a team like this to root, I'd go to Dick's Sporting Goods Park and root for the freaking Rapids.
All right, y'all. Look, we all got through it. I'm still pissed. Philly's still pissed, but whatever. We'll get there. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be in a better mood. How's that? Tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'll be in a better mood. Tomorrow's Tuesday. You know what? It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day, defenders. And look, more than anything, Philly and I, we do this for all of you, for all of the millions.
And millions.
In the chat, you guys have been absolutely incredible. I apologize for everybody on Instagram that maybe we didn't bring you guys into the chat more, but our chat here was absolutely incredible. We love you guys. You're just the reason why we do this. So again, thank you. However it is that you access Defenders of the Bank content, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or of course on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms that you listen to us on. We thank you so much. We can't wait for episode 362 when we're hoping to talk about a better effort against Montreal. And you know how we like to end each and every one of these episodes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.